Hey guys, in this video I'm going to be redrafting the first 10 picks of the 2011 NBA draft, based on the knowledge we've accumulated over the years about these players and based on the fit for the team. Here is the original list of the top 10 draft picks. Now in this redraft, I'll be considering the entire pool of players from the 2011 draft only. So I'm not just going to be rearranging this list, because there are obviously a couple of players who would definitely not be a top 10 pick if we had to draft them today. Alright, let's get started. With the number 1 pick in the draft, the Cleveland Cavaliers select Kawhi Leonard. The reigning Defensive Player of the Year and former Finals MVP who originally got selected 15th in this draft. Kawhi has made astronomical improvements since he was a rookie, and he's now considered one of the best scorers and defenders in the entire league. He's currently averaging 26 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, with a 61% true shooting percentage and 27.6 PER, which just means he's ridiculously efficient. He's arguably a top 5 player in the league, and he's the definition of a player who does everything. Being able to guard anyone from Steph Curry to LeBron James down the stretch, Kawhi is known for causing havoc on the defensive end, and 2 years ago, he became the first perimeter player to win Defensive Player of the Year since Ron Artest in 2004. There is an argument against Kawhi that he probably would not have developed into the player he is today if he wasn't on the Spurs. But still, great players will always find a way to be great. At the number 2 pick, this one was kinda tricky, since there are a lot of great players who can be argued for this spot. But I still have to go with Kyrie Irving. Yeah, he hasn't really significantly improved compared to some other players here, but he's still a 4-time All-Star, and has been considered one of the best point guards in the league for a while now. At the time, Minnesota already had Ricky Rubio as their point guard, but Irving is more of a shooting guard anyway, so he could just fit right in and play with him, since Rubio is a pass-first player who's also a great defender. But I mean, pretty much anyone would be a better pick for them than Derek Williams, who Minnesota originally selected with the number 2 pick. Irving is currently having the best season of his career, putting up 25 points and 6 assists per game, and even though it seems like he's been around a long time, he's still only 25 years old, with a lot more room to grow. With the number 3 pick, the Utah Jazz select Jimmy Butler. Utah's original pick of Enes Kanter was pretty confusing back then. Not because he's a bad player, but because they already had Al Jefferson, Paul Millsap, and Derek Favors all in the front court. Now instead of Kanter, Butler complements Gordon Hayward very well because he can play off the ball, while also adding that additional scoring punch at the wings that Utah would greatly benefit from. Butler is also a great all-around player, with a skill set that's similar to Kawhi Leonard's. He can shoot, pass, defend multiple positions, draw a lot of fouls. There aren't really any weaknesses in his game. This season, he's putting up 24 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, while making his 3rd consecutive All-Star appearance. With the 4th pick, the Cavs select Klay Thompson. Their original pick at number 4 was Tristan Thompson, who's a good player, but just imagine that instead of Kyrie Irving and Tristan Thompson, the Cavs picked Kawhi Leonard and Klay Thompson in this draft instead. That would be insane. But of course, this hypothetical situation isn't 100% accurate, since we're not sure how it changes the Cavs' future draft positions. Still, it's an interesting scenario to think about. Right now, the Cavs have J.R. Smith at shooting guard, who's a good fit for their team, but he's pretty much a poor man's Klay. Klay is a better shooter, defender, and he's just a better overall player. Although he's not an incredible playmaker, he's one of the greatest pull-up shooters the league has ever seen. We all remember some of his ridiculous games, where he scored like 60 points in 29 minutes, or when he dropped 37 points in a single quarter. He heats up faster than probably anyone we've ever seen before. At the 5th pick, the Toronto Raptors select Isaiah Thomas. Most people probably didn't even know Thomas was in this draft. Well, he was, and he was selected at number 60, the last pick of the entire draft. It's pretty crazy to think about, especially since he's putting up 29 and 6. But height does matter a lot in the NBA, so Thomas being just 5'9" killed his draft stock. But statistically, Thomas is currently putting up better numbers than Steph Curry this season, while the Celtics are at the top of the Eastern Conference. The only reason I didn't put him higher on this list is because he's not very good defensively and has one of the worst defensive plus-minuses in the entire league. He puts in the effort, but the height and wingspan just aren't there. In any case, Thomas has been phenomenal this year, and he's a dark horse candidate to win MVP. At the 6th pick, the Washington Wizards select Nikola Vucevic. Yeah, I am aware that Kemba Walker is still on the board, but keep in mind that the Wizards already had a young John Wall at the time, who is another ball-dominant point guard with a mediocre jump shot. Their skill sets were way too similar, so I can't imagine the Wizards would select Kemba. But then again, it's the Wizards, and they selected Jan Vesely with their original pick at number 6, and he's currently playing in Turkey. Also at the time, JaVale McGee was the Wizards' starting center, so they desperately needed an upgrade. Nikola Vucevic is a good player and he'd fit really well. This season, Vucevic is having an off year, but he's still putting up 15 points and 10 boards per game. In the previous 2 seasons, he averaged 19 and 10, with very few turnovers as well. Although he doesn't have the same star power or recognition compared to some of the other players here, he is a solid player, and number 6 is a good spot to select him. With the number 7 pick, the Sacramento Kings select Kemba Walker. But since they originally traded their 7th pick in this draft, Bismack Biyombo, to the then Charlotte Bobcats, we're gonna assume they do it again, and Kemba Walker ends up in Charlotte again, so nothing really changes here. Walker became an all-star for the first time this year, and he's putting up career highs in points, field goal percentage, and three-point percentage. He's known as one of the toughest point guards in the league, because despite being under 6 feet tall without shoes, he constantly attacks the paint and hounds his opponents on the other end. Walker doesn't have many huge, memorable games, but he consistently plays with a lot of effort, even if his shot isn't falling. As he keeps improving, he will continue to be the face of the Hornets for years to come. With the 8th pick, the Detroit Pistons select Tobias Harris. To be honest, I wasn't really sure about this pick. There are still some good big guys left in this draft, but I feel like Harris has the best combination of versatility and potential. And he's also the best fit next to Andre Drummond, who the Pistons drafted 1 year later. Harris is currently averaging 16 points and 5 rebounds a game. He was also really young when he got drafted, at just 18 years old. I know that he's on the Pistons now and he's playing pretty well, but if he joined them 6 years ago and he had the opportunity to develop alongside Detroit's other young players, they would have all benefited greatly from playing together. With the 9th pick, the Charlotte Bobcats select Jonas Valanciunas. Originally, Charlotte selected Kemba Walker at number 9, but in this redraft, they already have Walker with the 7th pick. At the time, Charlotte was looking to build for the future with their young players, and they desperately needed a big guy inside who can create his own shot. Well, actually, they needed pretty much anything, since they finished the following season with a 7-59 record, in the lockout shortened season that is, which was the worst winning percentage in NBA history. Valanciunas would have been a solid pickup to help prevent that from happening. He's ridiculously efficient at scoring, and he's also a great rebounder. He would probably be scoring a lot more too if he wasn't playing with DeMar DeRozan and Kyle Lowry on the Raptors. And finally, with the 10th pick in this draft, the Milwaukee Bucks select Reggie Jackson. Yeah, I know I left a lot of good players on the board like Kenneth Faried, Tristan Thompson, and the Morris twins, and I also know that the Bucks already had a young Brandon Jennings at the time. But I feel like Reggie Jackson was the best remaining player available. The team already had Ersan Ilyasova, John Lohr, and Larry Sanders, who would all benefit a lot from Jackson's playmaking. Last season, Jackson averaged 19 and 6, and the season before that he had a 23-point, 20-assist game against the Memphis Grizzlies, one of the best defensive teams in the league. Unfortunately, he's been playing injured through most of this season, so his production kinda slowed down a bit. And that's all, folks. That's my redraft of the 2011 NBA Draft. I hope you guys enjoyed the video.